Hey and welcome back. Today we're shifting back to, that's right, some news. At this point, I hardly need to say much about how the pandemic has affected the job economy. I've also talked about it plenty of times in my previous videos. But in today's video, we're going to cover the US Department of Labor's April job report and how it compares to pre-pandemic and how much we've recovered so far and what we can look forward to in the future. We'll also look at some of the complications the labor market is facing right now and how all of this affects us, both recruiters and job seekers alike. But before we get started, as always, please consider a like, subscribe, click that bell, it really means a lot. First, some background. Every month, the US Department of Labor releases a report containing a number of data points concerning the job market. Aside from the inside look it gives into the current state of employment, it's also used to glean insight into the health of the overall economy. These reports have been especially valuable throughout the pandemic. After losing around 22 million jobs in 2020, the job market and the US economy both appear to be approaching something resembling a precarious normalcy, if such a thing actually exists. But in spite of a number of concerning developments, including the ongoing labor shortage, increasing pandemic cases, and unfortunately the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the US economy managed to add a significant amount of jobs in April, surpassing expectations across the board. Before we look into the specifics and how it affects us, let's review some past events, the effects of which are still occurring today. Past events. The Great Resignation. I went into detail about the so-called Great Resignation in a previous video, so I'll only cover it briefly here. But if you're interested in learning more, I encourage you to go back and check it out. In short, the pandemic provided the push over the edge for many workers needed to leave their jobs in search of more satisfying and lucrative opportunities. The result was a labor shortage. While jobs are being created, there's still a lack of people to fill those roles. Labor shortage. This is good news for job seekers, since many companies are desperate for employees and have upped their wages and benefits. In fact, Insider reports that wages are climbing faster than they ever before, with a 0.3% increase in April. Unfortunately, however, the labor shortage is likely to continue into the summer with a record 11.5 million job openings in March. The Federal Reserve interest rate. On March 16, 2022, the Federal Reserve increased its interest rates for the first time in 2 years. The Federal Reserve interest rate affects how much money businesses are able to borrow and invest, and therefore has a direct effect on the economy. When the Federal Reserve notes shows that the economy is slowing down, they decrease their interest rates, making it easier for businesses to borrow money and expand, hopefully stimulating the economy. Conversely, when the inflation increases and the economy is growing too quickly, the Federal Reserve increases interest rates, slowing down spending and borrowing. As a result of this 0.25% increase, businesses may have to adjust their hiring plans. The Friday, May 6th job report gives us our first look into how this has affected the labor economy. Current events. The good news is that despite the higher interest rates, we seem to be quickly recovering from the job deficit brought on by the pandemic. The Labor Department has revised the counts from the previous reports. While February's count has decreased from 750,000 to 714,000 jobs created, March has increased from 428,000 to 431,000. This is a great news all around. In fact, USA Today reports that 95% of the jobs that were lost at the beginning of the pandemic have returned, about 20.8 million jobs created. So on to the month of April. The Labor Department reports that predictions were blown out of the water. While economists estimated about 390,000 new jobs, the official count stands now at 430,000 new jobs created just in the month of April. The increase were across a variety of sectors, led by services and hospitalities with 78,000 new positions. The manufacturing industry is also close behind, having added 55,000 jobs in April. Following that is the transportation and warehousing sector, which increased by 52,000 jobs. Additionally, the professional and business services industry gained 41,000 new jobs, the financial activities gained 35,000 new jobs, and last but not least, the healthcare and retail sectors with 34,000 and 29,000 jobs gained respectively. Conversely, smaller sectors such as employment services and department stores and furniture manufacturing has declined, but only slightly. Unemployment rate. So despite the jobs created in April, the unemployment rate stagnated. It remained at 3.6, just a single point above the forecasted rate of 3.5. It should be noted that the unemployment rate is indirectly affected by the roughly 100 million Americans who aren't participating in the workforce at the moment. Those who haven't looked for work within 4 weeks or those not working at all aren't counted in the unemployment rate. The fairly low labor force participation rate has caused unemployment to drop faster than usual. Sources now predict the unemployment rate may climb as more people decide to re-enter the workforce. Labor force participation. So that's not where the numbers show, however, at least right now. The labor force participation rate dropped in April from 62.4 to 64.2, a record low since January. Interestingly, Insider reports that the result was a drop in female participation from 76.5 to 76.2. The Great Resignation also seemed to remain in effect with a record 4.5 million people leaving their jobs in April, signaling that workers have a high amount of bargaining power when it comes to wages and benefits. So what does this mean for recruiters and job seekers? The future of the job market, and indeed the greater economy, is in a constant state of flux. While this isn't exactly the best news for the general public or the corporations that make up the backbone of our economy, there are a number of factors in play that favor both job seekers and recruiters at the moment. It's both a great time to be looking for a job and to be a recruiter as well. Rapid job creation means there are plenty of open positions to be filled. And while the labor shortage is still an issue, those who are actively looking for work have an unprecedented amount of bargaining power and stand to greatly increase their wages. Similarly, many organizations will be relying on recruiters to source talent, so there are plenty of opportunities for those looking for clients. The challenge, of course, will be attracting qualified candidates. So make sure you check out some of my previous videos if you want to learn more about that. So this just about wraps up this video on the state of the job economy. But given its current state, I'm sure there's much more to be said. Having anything else to add to the conversation, I'd love to hear from your thoughts below. If you like this video, want to see more like it, please consider like, subscribe, click that bell. It really means a lot. Feel free to also follow me at Preston_Park, as I try my best to also post daily. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.